YouTube family? Welcome back or welcome to Recruiting Board. I'm Alex Agrella and thank you so much for joining me here. Please like, share, and subscribe to the best family here on YouTube. I've always wanted to do one of these. One of my boys, Kirkshan, he actually does a chaos poll where he basically does the top 25 teams in the state, no matter what conference they are in. I'm going to do one of those with the top 10 teams in the state, no matter the conference, no matter who they play in the state of Massachusetts. This is something, it is purely for content. It is purely for your entertainment. I do not expect everyone to agree with me who watches this video. I don't expect everybody to disagree with me. This is just my opinion, and you are free to voice how you feel in the comments below. If it's too raunchy, I'm gonna delete it, so try to keep it PG. I am going to let y'all know right now. If you comment what game you want me to go to, the most liked comment, I will go to your game this year. So how this is going to work, I'm going to reveal each team starting from 10, working my way up to 1. We're going to go over a little bit of preview. I'm going to justify why I put them where I put them. Then I talk about one game on their schedule, or in some cases, 2 games on their schedule that I think is going to be very important for them to win. So without further ado, Recruiting Board's top 10 teams entering the 2023 season in Massachusetts. They might think this is a little bit too low. I got a lot of love for a lot of the players on the team and the coaches over at this team, Milton Academy. So Milton Academy last year was Coach Mac's last season, and it didn't go quite the way they wanted. They didn't win the ISL, and then they didn't qualify for a bowl game in the first time in I don't know how many years. I mean, the ISL only got better this year, and they graduated good amount of starters on offense and defense, quite possibly 2 of the best players in the ISL on both sides of the ball. That's Andrew Rappalia, who's off to Penn State as a tight end, and of course Jack Crowley, who's off to Harvard, and he's going to be sacking quarterbacks for a long time in the Ivy League. When you lose 2 players like that, again, I don't really care how good you are, you're not going to be as good. Of course, their quarterback, he goes off to Georgetown. They lost a good amount of starters. I can't put them quite as high on the list. They could surprise me though. The Mustangs do bring back a good amount of talent, and they have one of the most exciting newcomers in the state in their quarterback, McNeil. Hughes already picked up an offer from Boston College. He was just at Penn State. He could be picking up another one soon. He has a lot of hype because he was a guy who last year, a lot of coaches were talking to me about him saying he's going to be a guy in the ISL. Coaches said he could have definitely played. It's just Jake was ahead of him last year as a Division I player. QRN McNeil has a lot of upside and a lot of hype to him. Of course, then they returned 2 of the best running backs in the state, Keith Nally and Brown commit Matt Childs. Matt Childs is an absolute gasher, and Nally's more of that power guy. So when you have those 2 guys and then they return a lot of their linemen, not to mention they brought in probably one of the most interesting transfers, I think, and that was Cash Kelly. That kid is an absolute blazer. If you go look up his 40 time from Bone, he definitely had one of the fastest. If they can get that kid the ball, that's something they've been lacking, I feel like. From when I've watched Milton Academy, they've never had that blazer or that home run hitter that they've been able to get the ball to. And they have another receiver who just committed to Harvard, and one of their tight ends who's 6'6", he's getting some D1 attention as well. Milton Academy definitely has some targets. They definitely have some options to throw to. I just wonder if they can replace the guys that they've lost, because they've definitely lost a lot compared to the other teams that I'm going to be putting on this list. The most interesting game on their schedule I have this year is the Lawrence Academy game week 3 on September 30th. You see, I love this game because last year Lawrence Academy was basically how Milton Academy was. They lost Ty Chan. They lost Andrew Reagan. They lost a good amount of guys. People thought they were going to be down, and they clearly weren't. So I think this will be an interesting game because Lawrence Academy boat raced them last year. So if Milton Academy, they can win this game, that is going to put them in a great position for the rest of the season. If they can continue to win, that was a game that they needed. If they had won that game last year, they could have won the ISL. So week 3, Milton Academy, Lawrence Academy. Should I go? Let me know in the comments below. All right, number 9. So number 9 is a team who they're probably going to give me some hate, and that's the Central Catholic Raiders. The reason why they are so low on this list, and I honestly kind of struggled to put them on the list, if there's anybody that lost the most, I think that was a top 10 team last year, it is definitely Central Catholic. So they lost all three of their running backs. They lost Merck, they lost Matthias Latham, and they lost Marquise Bridgewater. All three of the guys who toked the rock for them last year. Those are three dogs right there. Not to mention Mike Ryan, who was a dog. Rivera, who was a dog. Canestraro, dog. Eddie, dog. Oh, who am I forgetting? Oh, 4-star Preston Zinter, who's off to Notre Dame. And last but not least, they lost one of the GOATs of Massachusetts high school football, and that is Coach Chuck Adamopoulos. I talked to a lot of different coaches in the Merrimack Valley Conference, and they all said they got guys, don't underestimate them. I remember Latham stepped up for Denario when he graduated, and again, Sean McCurry was one of those guys who stepped up for Mark Cassis. They returned one of the better quarterbacks in the country, and that's Blake Hebert, so they're always going to be a team that is going to be talked about, and I do think they will make the playoffs. So I'm not saying that Central Catholic is going to be a bad team. I'm just saying that they got a lot of things to figure out, and they lost a lot of pieces. So I don't think that they're just going to cakewalk into the Merrimack Valley Conference. They had all those guys last year, and they didn't win it last year. The Raiders have a lot to prove in 2023, that is for sure. Central Catholic's game to watch out for is against Xaverian. The reason why I'm saying this is because on paper, Xaverian should beat them. Defensively, they match up well because I know Coach Al, he loves to blitz. If you can apply pressure on Blake Hebert and his receivers aren't quite there, that's going to be interesting to see how he responds to that. This is going to be a very big game for them because typically after the St. John's prep game, towards the end, they got Methuen, they got the Andovers, but kind of in that middle, oh, well, they don't play anybody. Their schedule gets easier. They play this team, they play that team. This Xaverian game, they typically scrimmage them. So this is very interesting because they haven't played Xaverian in a long time. So I'm very interested to see how Central Catholic matches up with them. Number 8, speaking of the Merrimack Valley Conference, we are staying in it and we are going right up the street or down the street. Don't know where that is geographically right now. We are going to Methuen High School. I will probably hear from the Central Catholic fan base. Methuen last year was a team who I knew was going to make some noise in the regular season and in the playoffs. And if you go watch back on my channel, they had two of probably the greatest games I've ever seen. And that was against Brockton and Franklin last year. Both teams who not a lot of people picked Methuen, especially against Franklin, to win. And they beat them on one of the last plays of the game. Drew Eason is an absolute stud. I think he is one of the best, if not the best quarterback in the MIAA. His little brother Shane is one of the better playmakers in the state. And I watched their entire team play in the 7-on-7s this summer, and they're built for stuff like that. The question is can Methuen's line hold up with the best of them? Because last year when I saw them play Central Catholic, that was the difference between them and all the other teams they played. The least amount of points they scored last year, 34 in the regular season, minus the Central Catholic game. Other than that, they were pretty much scoring at will on anyone. So they're going to be able to put up the points. They're going to be dangerous. I right now think they do win the Merrimack Valley Conference. Cutting to a different scene now. Obviously, I'm wearing different clothes, so I want to address that. Originally, I said that Methuen's game to watch out for the year was Central Catholic. However, after looking at their schedule, I'm like trying to take the screenshot of the game, and I'm like, wait, where is it? Text Coach Ryan. They aren't playing Central Catholic this year. The Merrimack Valley Conference has 3 tiers this year, so they aren't playing Central Catholic. However, they do play Bellrica this year, and I think that that's the most interesting game on their schedule. I was going to say Andover, but they always play Andover. That's a huge crosstown rivalry. However, Bellrica was a team that only lost 1 game, and that was in the playoffs to North Attleboro. North Attleboro was a great team, by the way, who beat King Philip, who went on to play in the D2 Super Bowl. I think that's a great game for them to see how they stack up against Methuen, and I don't think Methuen's overlooking that game. I've seen both of them play in the 7s this summer. They both have some good skill guys. It's going to be interesting to see how their lines match up against each other, but I think Methuen-Billerica on Friday, October 13th is Methuen's most interesting game on their schedule. With this being a Merrimack Valley Conference game, I think it's going to be big for both teams, so that's why I put it on their game to watch out for this year. Now, back to the original cut of the video. So I have them right now at number 8. That game's at home, and I know METHUEN fans, they like to get rowdy. Should I go to that game? That's going to be a good atmosphere. The Rangers always get down. Numero 7, the Williston Wildcats. I'm probably going to be getting a text from Coach Beaton about that one. This is a team who I'm going to bet not a lot of you know about, but I have been out there. It is a gorgeous school out in Western. Keep going west, and then you're at Williston, Northampton. Tommy Beaton does a great job over there, and they're a lot different from a lot of these other programs on this list is because they do allow post-grads, and a couple of the post-grads that I'm excited that they're bringing in, Matt DeFeo, a defensive end from Xaverian, and 2, Tariq Thomas. Now, Bucknell commit Tariq Thomas, who is a running back at Springfield Central last year. They're bringing in another very interesting post-grad. Now is committed to UNH, and that's Malik Diaby. When I saw him moving that bone, I understood why he's getting the attention that he is getting. Those are 3 PGs they're bringing in. They're bringing in some other guys as well. They just aren't local, so I don't know too much about them. I do know that James Elliott, who's now committed to Dartmouth, their wide receiver, he is a dog. I watched him play. He's going to be their primary playmaker. Good luck running in the trenches against those guys because they have multiple 6'3" linemen. Coach Beaton gets them big, and he goes up to Canada and gets them. He's closer to Canada than most of y'all other schools out there. They could have definitely been higher on this list. It was tough for me not to. However, they do have a big opportunity to shut me the heck up because I think that their most interesting game of the year on October 14th against BB&N, which I think will be one of the better games in New England. I think this is going to be a very interesting game. Number 6 is a team who I think I have lower than a lot of the other people I've talked to. My buddy Kirkshan has this team a lot higher than I do, and that is the Xaverian Hawks. And hear me out on this one, all right? They don't have that centerpiece on the line like they've had the past couple. They had Jack Funk in 19, 2020, and 21, and then they had John Mold, who's off to Harvard this year. And then, of course, they had DeFeo, their tight end, Edgeby, he's been getting some offers. He's off to Loomis. Busa in the defensive backfield. With that said, Xaverian does have some of the most interesting playmakers in the state. Charlie Camella, who just committed to BC to play 2 sports. Henry Hasselbeck's going to Michigan State. Jonathan Montero, one of the fastest players in the state. He really shined against CM last year when opening kickoff, he brought that right back for a touchdown. I think traditionally we've seen Xaverian, they love running the ball. Al is old school, and I love that. But when you have those type of guys and you have one of the top quarterbacks, I think this year is that Xaverian really opens it up and throws the ball more. They're going to trust Henry his senior year. He knows the offense better. You know, last year he came from Belmont Hill, so he didn't quite know the offense. The Hawks are definitely going to be one of the better teams in the state. They're going to make some noise, but their biggest game is definitely against Springfield Central this year because, y'all, they can't get boat raced against this team. If they want to take that next step to get to the Super Bowl, you can't be getting killed by Springfield Central back-to-back years. So they have Springfield Central on their regular season schedule this year. You have to at least be competitive because if you're getting killed in the regular season by them, that's not a good sign to what can happen in the playoffs. Should I go? Let me know in the comments below. Number 5, DEXTER Southfield. I'm interested to hear what people think about this one. I think that it might be a little bit too low for DEXTER Southfield because if you go look at their team last year and you go look at their team this year, not much has changed. They lost maybe 3 starters. Takai was a huge one, of course. He goes off to Buck now. Austin Hartzell, he was another big one. He goes off to BC to play baseball. However, let's focus on what they bring back and who they brought in. They brought in one of the top playmakers in the entire state who I think is going to explode this year, Tyson Thomas. He came in from Grafton, and I'm telling y'all right now, that was the one thing Dexter was missing last year, was a true running back. And Tyson Thomas is him. I'm telling you. He is a home run guy. I picked him in my draft. He got a little bit banged up last year at Grafton. He ended up making a championship run. So him repeating his junior year, I think is going to be very great for his recruitment. Joseph McCauley just committed to Richmond. He's going to be dropping dimes to Darius Day, Mike Bonsu, Quinn Carver, Dom Wadlin, not to mention Liam Andrews, who just committed to Penn State. Good luck trying to block him. Hardy Watts, who's been picking up Power 5 offers. Dom Silva. It was hard for me to not put them ahead of the team I'm going to list next, but you'll understand why I did here shortly. And their game to watch that I'm very excited to see is going to be on October 7th when they play St. Paul's. So that was the team last year that beat Dexter in the regular season. The only team to do so. So I think that's going to be a very interesting game that could decide the Evergreen. Them, Proctor, and St. Paul's. They're going to be the top 3 teams in the Evergreen. So that game is going to be huge. People are going to say, Pingree, love you guys, Highlander Nation. I think they're going to be a little bit down this year. Do you watch Evergreen football? If you do, let me know who your favorite team is below. Number 4, we are the Lawrence Academy Spartans. That was the reason why I couldn't have Dexter higher on the list. Last year in the bowl game, Lawrence Academy took that W over Dexter. They basically only lose a couple starters, and they bring in a ton of new guys. Of course, they bring back who I think is probably the best quarterback in the ISL, Michael Landolfi, aka Michael Manziel. Definitely one of the more exciting quarterbacks to watch in the state, and he's got a lot of targets to throw to. He's got Javon Mobley, Cole Nelson. He's got Owen McVay. And hey, I saw the running back, Jordan, the guy that stepped up towards the end of last year. Bro, he's got hands too. I'm telling you, man. So offensively, they definitely have the firepower to make some noise. I have them as the top team in the ISL today. And I know some teams are going to have something to say about that. But again, I just think Lawrence Academy, they don't lose anybody. And they're bringing in a bunch of transfers. They're bringing in probably one of the better transfers that nobody's talking about in the ISL, and that's Brady Gelanu. When you don't lose many stars to begin with and then bring in a lot of talent, you got to be high on the list, bro. They have 2 games to watch out for. Can they beat St. Seb's? That game last year was a bloodbath. The game atmosphere was great. It was a dramatic game. It's on my channel. You can go and watch it. They're not on the list, and they're probably going to be pissed off that I put them ahead of St. Seb's after St. Seb's beat them last year. So I think that's going to be a big game. And the second game, can they beat their boogeyman? And that is BB&N. Because last year, they could have won the ISL outright, but they fumbled against BB&N. And that is a team they haven't been able to beat over the past couple years. Kind of like Methuen and Central Catholic, Xaverian and Springfield Central. They got their own boogeyman. So those 2 games specifically, I am interested in. Dexter Southfield fans, Milton Academy fans, BB&N fans, Sebs fans, a lot of different fans are going to be pissed off Lawrence Academy so high. Are they too high or are they too low? Let me know where in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe to the best family here on YouTube. Number 3, and y'all, I'm gonna get killed for this one. And I'm about to get a text from a very angry coach. And this is the role I think this fan base likes to play, and that's the underdogs, if you want to call them that, even though they're better than most teams in the state. But I am going with the defending Division 1 state champions, St. John's Prep. And I know Coach St. Pierre is going to text me saying, "What are you doing? Have you been talking to X?" The Eagles return a lot defensively. I'm going to say it right now. Best linebacking core in the state. And some of the best defensive ends in the state. Jackson Tucker, John Dragettis, Marquise Avery, Mason McSweeney, Matt Callahan. If you go watch their playoff games, all guys who were absolute studs for them down the stretch. Especially against Xaverian, those linebackers were absolutely feasting on the Hawks. It wasn't turkey they were eating Hawks on Thanksgiving. They were doing the same stuff against Springfield Central in the rain. However, they lose a ton. They lose Jonel Aguero. They lose Jesse O'Fury to Rutgers. Those 2 players, Power 5 athletes, not to mention Mikey Naboo, another Division 1 player. He's off to Columbia. Pius Njendu, he's off to UMaine. Santi Casino's off to Bentley. Carson Brown's off to Bentley. Christian Defoe, he's off to Williston. Lucas Verrier, all gone. That is a ton of guys right there that were huge to St. John's Prep that they're not going to have this year. That to me is a lot to replace. So I don't have the Eagles at 1 or 2. Trust me, St. Pierre doesn't care about any of that, and St. John's doesn't care about any of that. Heading into the season, though, their quarterback position is very interesting because last year they played 3 different guys in the Super Bowl alone. However, they've been making a lot of noise this offseason because of an 8th grader that they have in their school system, and that's Christopher Vargas. He already looks the part of a Power 5 recruit, and he's already gotten some offers. I don't even know if he can play, though, yet. He's only in the 8th grade. He's a 2028 quarterback. That's still an interesting position for them because they used a lot of different guys last year. Who is going to be the starter entering week 1? Does Cam LaGrassa take over for Carson Brown, or does Dylan Alberti? Does Marquise Avery get more involved with the offense? There's just a lot of questions revolving the Eagles in 2023. Again, though, I know they got the culture to prove it, so I do expect them to make a deep playoff run, even make the Super Bowl potentially, but right now I can't have them ahead of the 2 other teams I have on this list. Their most interesting game of the year, though, no brainer, it's against CM. These teams do not like each other. I have been to CM, St. John's Prep, over the past couple years. Atmosphere is always wild, it is always insane, and this year it's in Danvers. You can already know I am definitely going to that game. Can St. John's Prep beat them for the first time since the 2019 Super Bowl? We will see. Okay, so number 2, drum roll please, Springfield Central. It's not easy picking them over Prep because of how last year turned out. Obviously, we know St. John's Prep upset Springfield Central. No one really thought Prep really stood a chance. However, I am picking this right now because while they do lose a lot, they do lose Pop Watson, Josiah Griffin, Jaden Bass on the offensive line, Amari Owens on the offensive line, Kaimari Latney. They lose so many guys over there at Springfield Central. The future is very bright for them. First off, we've already talked about quarterback Jarrett Stain, who I have seen personally throw live. The last time Springfield Central had a phenom quarterback as a freshman, his name was Pop Watson, and he was pretty good. Receiver Dwayne Early for Springfield Central, bro, go watch some of his clips. He's looking athletic. He's looking Joe Griffin-esque out there. He will definitely be a huge impact player across the state this year. He already has a Pitt offer, and he's about to make even more noise entering his junior year. Sean Dez, he stepped up for them, especially against Zavarian in the playoffs. Matthias Barber, he's a great receiver for them. Jarrett's going to have the options, and he's going to have the playmakers to get him to. As a freshman, having those type of weapons, that's going to be huge for his confidence and his development. They do lose a lot on the line, and I did talk to Jaden Bass at Bone, and he said the line's going to be young, but they're going to be a good line once they get older, once they get the reps under the belt. Jaden put it the best. He said, I was a lot different of a lineman the first game of my junior year as I was the last game of my junior year, and the film clearly shows that. That was a great comparison. I talked to Coach Watson. He's feeling really good about them. While they did lose a lot, I don't think they lost as much, especially defensively, as St. John's Prep did, and they didn't lose as many impact skill players as St. John's Prep did. I do think Springfield's biggest game, and a very interesting one, is their season opener against Central Catholic. The reason why I say that, at first I was going to say this game means more to Central Catholic than it does to Springfield Central, but then I thought about it. I don't really think so, because I don't think anyone's picking Central Catholic to win that game. Nobody expects them to. I certainly don't expect them to. So Raiders could feel some weight about that. It's okay. But I think Springfield Central, if they come out right now and they have a great game against Central Catholic, that actually really puts them in a great position and starts them off on a healthy note for the rest of the season. If it's kind of like a bit of a shootout or they can't really get the offense going, it's going to be interesting to see how the Golden Eagles respond to that. I think this is a very interesting one. Their season opener, it's at home. I might be going to that game. I really want to go to that game. Let me know if I should in the comments below. Should I have had Prep higher than Springfield Central, or one of these ISL schools higher than Springfield Central? I don't think so, but let me know what you think below. All right, last but certainly not least, actually, but certainly first in this scenario, Catholic Memorial. And when you say that name, bro, you might as well just say Democrat or Republican, because that's such a controversial name around this entire state and really around New England, if you ask me. But, bro, I can't pick against the Knights because they've been smacking everybody for a long time across the state. They haven't lost since 2019. That 2023 class, it was absurd how many D1 guys they had in 2022. So they do lose all of them. Carson Harwood, they do lose David Latrell Jones, both two D1 beast running backs. They lose J.C. Petrangelo, who was a longtime winner in the Catholic Conference. They lose Jaden Skeet. They lost a ton of guys. However, they do bring back a lot of talent as well. On the offensive line, Brandon Sullivan and Gerby Lambert. One going to Harvard. The other one, well, we don't know where Gerby's going. I personally think he ends up at BC or Notre Dame. And, bro, I'm telling you, I saw Peter Bork throw against Milford last year in the playoffs and against KP in the Super Bowl. Peter Bork throws darts. Their incoming sophomore quarterback, and he is going to be one of the top quarterbacks in the state. I mark my words. It is going to be a much different offense with him in. Mekhi Dodd for them. I'm telling you, I saw him start to get the rock towards the end of the season. I think he's going to be a junior this year, and his role is going to step up tremendously in the offense. He's going to be a guy, once he blows up, they're going to be like, oh, where was this guy? Oh, well, he was just behind two D1 running backs, so that can happen sometimes. Eric Perkins defensively, Will Claude defensively, both of those guys have Division I offers, and they got some guys who I haven't even talked about, who I don't even know about, that are probably going to explode for them, that are probably going to come in and be immediate contributors for them. I got to put them at 1, and I don't know many coaches that disagree with me. Actually, I know probably plenty that would disagree with me, but when I was at the sevens this summer and I asked coaches, I said, who's the best team in the state? They all said Catholic Memorial, and I'm going to hear it in terms of division, conference, they don't play this, they don't play that. They're going down and they're going to play a team from Florida this year, okay, which is the most interesting game on their schedule, hands down, when they go and play Cardinal Newman. Everyone says Catholic Memorial ducks Springfield Central. They're in D2. They play nobody. Well, everyone's eyes are going to be on that game because everyone wants to see them lose and nobody wants to see them win. That's a win-win scenario for Catholic Memorial, if you ask me. They're going to go down. They're going to go play national competition. That's great for recruiting. And, let's be honest, it's also great for them recruiting kids to their school as well. That's going to be a great game. Probably not going to go to it. If I can, that would be great. Hey, if somebody from Catholic Memorial is seeing this and you want to fly me down to Florida with you, I will shoot content for you and bring y'all with me. That would be badass. Hey, if you made it to the end of the video, you're awesome. That's my top 10, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think. Shoot me a text if you have my number. Shoot me a DM. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, all my platforms. This is for you to engage. Not everybody's going to agree with me. Not everybody's going to disagree with me. But I did this for content purposes and for entertainment purposes for the state, for you. Some preseason hype, some preseason coverage. So let me know what you think. I'm very excited about the 2023 season. It's right around the corner. Like, share, and of course, subscribe to the best family here on YouTube. I'm Alex Agrella, and I'm signing off.